About the work of V.I. Lenin, What is to be done? 1951. Lenin's foundational work, What is to be done?, authored by V.I. Lenin, was instrumental in preparing the ground for Bolshevism and establishing a new model for a revolutionary party. Critique of opportunism. Lenin critiques Russian economists who aligned with international opportunism, challenging their perspectives and refuting their opportunist philosophy. Development of Marxist ideals. Lenin's work elaborated on the ideological underpinnings of the Marxist Party, which later became the ideological foundation of the Bolshevik Party under Leninism. Connection to Stalin's works. Lenin's What is to be done aligns with works by I.V. Stalin, such as Briefly on Party Differences and Answer to the Social Democrat, where Stalin defended and expanded upon Lenin's ideas regarding a Marxist party for the working class. Foundations of the Bolshevik Party. Together, Lenin and Stalin laid out the ideological, organizational, tactical, and theoretical principles that guided the Bolshevik Party, structuring it as a party of the mind, honor, and conscience of its time. Historical influence and achievements. Under Lenin and Stalin's guidance, the Bolshevik Party achieved numerous historical victories, setting a unique example globally in terms of revolutionary experience and socialist construction. Source of theoretical strength. The foundational principles established by Lenin and Stalin serve as a continuous source of theoretical strength for the Bolshevik Party and Soviet state, providing the framework for communism's growth within the USSR. Global impact of Leninism. The theories of Leninism have demonstrated their influence worldwide, reshaping historical narratives and empowering working-class movements internationally. Bolshevism's global model. According to Stalin, Bolshevism exemplifies a tactical model suitable for global revolutionary movements, providing a pathway to escape war and imperialism. Evolution of scientific communism. Marx and Engels' theories, further developed by Lenin and Stalin, now encompass a strategic roadmap for global workers to challenge imperialism and build socialism. Marxism-Leninism as a universal guide. The doctrine of Marxism-Leninism has become a combat strategy for workers globally, promoting peace, democracy, and socialism. Guidance for workers' parties. The theoretical contributions of Lenin and Stalin guide communist and workers' parties worldwide, aiding their fight against imperialism and right-wing socialism, and uniting the working class for peace and socialism. The historical background of the appearance of V.I. Lenin's book, What is to be done? Publication and historical context. V.I. Lenin's influential work, What is to be done?, was published in March 1902. This work arose from Lenin's commitment to forming the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party amid rising imperialist conditions. Marxist foundations and the Proletarian Party. Lenin and Stalin built upon the foundations laid by Marx and Engels, advancing the idea of a Marxist-led proletarian party. They sought to replace pre-monopoly capitalism with monopoly capitalism, identifying imperialism as capitalism's highest phase, 1898-1914. Revolutionary theory development. Lenin and Stalin furthered Marxist theory, adapting it to the new era of imperialism. They argued that a revolutionary, militant party was essential for a successful socialist revolution. Party of a new type. Lenin and Stalin advocated for a new form of Marxist party, a Bolshevik party capable of leading the proletariat in a revolutionary struggle. The party was to be strategically militant, experienced in handling complex conditions, and adaptive in revolutionary tactics. Opposition to opportunism. The Bolshevik Party's creation was marked by a fierce ideological battle against the Second International and internal Russian opportunists such as the Mensheviks. Lenin and Stalin exposed the reformist tendencies as harmful to the working class struggle. Economic and social backdrop in Russia. Lenin's The Development of Capitalism in Russia highlighted the capitalist nature of Russia's socio-economic structure, contrasting advanced industrialism with remnants of feudalism, thus portraying Russia as ripe for revolution. Capitalist and imperialist oppression. Under Tsarism, Russia's economy grew increasingly dependent on Western imperialism, which exploited Russia's resources and workforce for capitalist gains. Lenin and Stalin contended that revolution in Russia inherently opposed both Tsarism and Western imperialist forces. Role of the Bolshevik Party in revolution. Lenin and Stalin viewed the Bolshevik Party as essential to unite the working class, particularly in overcoming Tsarist and capitalist repression. They argued that only through revolutionary organization could Tsarism be overthrown. 3 stages of Russian social democracy, 1884 to 1894, formative period focusing on social democracy's ideology. 1894 to 1898, social democracy emerged as a political force with a mass following. 1898 onwards, disunity due to ideological conflicts, notably the rise of economism that promoted a split between economic and political struggles. Defeat of economism and party unity. Lenin's What is to be Done was critical in overcoming the ideology of economism, which emphasized only economic struggle and neglected the necessity of political mobilization, thus ensuring a cohesive and revolutionary Marxist party. Lenin on the role and significance of revolutionary theory in the class struggle of the proletariat. Critique of the bourgeois theory of spontaneity. Opportunism's roots. Lenin identifies the worship of spontaneity and underestimation of socialist consciousness as the main sources of opportunism in the workers' movement. This inclination, especially widespread in the Second International, served as the basis for reformist and anti-revolutionary policies. Critique of opportunist figures. Lenin critiques various global opportunists, including English Fabians, French supporters of Milleran, German Bernsteinians, and Russian economists. They collectively undermine Marxism by advocating freedom of criticism, essentially endorsing bourgeois critiques of socialism. Bernstein's revisionism. Bernstein called for transforming the Social Democratic Party from a revolutionary force into a reformist organization, rejecting communism, class struggle, and the proletariat's role. His slogan, "Movement is everything, the final goal is nothing," epitomized a betrayal of Marxist ideals. Russian economists' support for opportunism. In Russia, the economists promoted Bernstein's ideas, aiming to inject a reformist spirit into the labor movement, thus supporting the spread of bourgeois influence in Russian socialism. Defense of Marxist ideals. Lenin, with support from Stalin, exposed the opportunistic attempts to reform socialism into a tool for bourgeois reform, accusing such figures of betraying the working class under the guise of freedom of criticism. The role of Marxist theory. Lenin emphasized the importance of revolutionary theory and its integration with the workers' movement, stressing that true socialist ideology arises from science, not spontaneously from the labor movement. The working class needs a scientific approach to fully understand and fight capitalist exploitation. Combating bourgeois ideology. Lenin pointed out the danger of spontaneous movements falling under bourgeois influence. Socialist consciousness must be introduced by the Marxist Party, as spontaneous workers' struggles alone typically yield only trade union consciousness, limited to workplace issues rather than systemic change. Party of a new type. Lenin established the framework for a revolutionary Marxist party that would merge scientific socialism with the labor movement, equipping it to lead the proletariat towards socialism and communism. Stalin's contribution. Stalin reinforced Lenin's principles, explaining the need for Marxist theory and socialism to be scientifically introduced into the labor movement to avoid subjugation by bourgeois ideology. Uncompromising ideological struggle. Lenin argued that Marxism-Leninism must guide the working class as an invincible banner and actively combat reformist theories and imperialist influences that promote class collaboration and betray the proletariat's interests. Global implications. Lenin's work provided an ideological foundation for communist parties worldwide, helping them resist right-wing socialist ideas and reformist ideologies which, according to Lenin, serve imperialist interests rather than the working class. The struggle of Lenin for the revolutionary policy of the Marxist Party. Role of Marxist Party. Lenin asserts the Marxist Party's role as the political leader of the working class, tasked with directing the revolutionary policy, not merely an economic struggle. Revolutionary versus opportunist policy. Revolutionary Marxist policy pursues the overthrow of imperialism and the establishment of communism. In contrast, trade unionist opportunist policy, accepted by Western labor movements and the Second International, aims to negotiate better labor conditions within capitalism, relinquishing the revolutionary goal. Critique of economists. Russian economists and Mensheviks promoted a trade unionist approach, focusing on economic gains, better wages, factory conditions, and de-emphasizing the political struggle against the Tsarist state. Lenin criticized the economists for their pharisaical claim that the economic struggle could be given a political character, masking a retreat from revolutionary aims. Need for political over economic struggle. Lenin argued that true liberation for the proletariat requires political revolution, which includes overthrowing bourgeois rule and instituting the proletariat's political power. Economic struggle alone, which aims to make small gains within the capitalist system, would only prolong proletarian subjugation. Contrast with English trade unionism. Lenin highlighted the limitations of the English labor movement, dominated by trade unionist ideology, which cooperated with the bourgeoisie rather than challenging it. He criticized English trade union leaders for aligning with capitalist interests, thereby weakening the labor movement's socialist foundations. Preparation for revolution. For Lenin, dismantling the Tsarist autocracy was a necessary step towards socialist revolution. He advocated educating the working class politically, encouraging them to ally with the peasantry and democratic forces. Political education had to transcend economic concerns and include an understanding of class relations, government, and the state's role in maintaining capitalist structures. Proletarian hegemony. Lenin emphasized the importance of proletarian hegemony, arguing that the working class should lead the revolution by uniting broader democratic forces. He criticized trade union leaders for viewing the economic struggle as sufficient and downplaying the political consciousness needed for true societal transformation. Denunciation of autocracy. Lenin insisted that Marxist leaders should expose the injustices of autocracy publicly and comprehensively to raise the working class's political consciousness. This strategy aimed to mobilize support across classes and solidify the proletariat's role as the vanguard of the revolutionary movement. Revolutionary social democrat versus trade union leader. Lenin's ideal revolutionary leader, social democrat, was a people's tribune, appealing to all oppressed classes and highlighting the working class's role in a larger historical struggle. By contrast, trade unionists were narrowly focused on immediate gains, lacking a broader vision of societal change. The harm of spontaneity theory. Lenin rejected the economists' theory of spontaneity, which underestimated the party's role in leading the working class, risking subordination to bourgeois influence. He argued that without a strong revolutionary party, the working class could easily be co-opted by capitalist ideology and lose its revolutionary potential. Lenin's plan for building a Marxist party. Criticism of the economists' amateurishness. Lenin's vision for a revolutionary Marxist party developed a concrete plan for forming a Marxist revolutionary party grounded in the political, ideological, and organizational needs of the working class. Emphasized that the party's organization should reflect its political objectives with clear programmatic and tactical unity. Rejecting the immediate party Congress proposal, opposed views among social democrats who wanted to form the party through a Congress, Second RSDLP Congress. Lenin argued for clarity in party goals and ideology before convening any Congress to establish true unity. Opposition to opportunism and economism. Sought to create a revolutionary party free from opportunistic elements, uncompromising towards compromisers and enemies of the working class. Criticized economists who argued for amateurism and limited focus on economic struggles without a larger political vision. Combating amateurism in social democratic circles. Lenin highlighted the organizational shortcomings, fragmentation, lack of preparedness, resulting from Tsarist repression and narrow focus among socialist circles. Connected amateurism to economism, attributing the latter's opportunistic approaches to the disorganization and backwardness within the movement. Establishing a centralized professional revolutionary organization, advocated for a corps of professional revolutionaries dedicated to political struggle and capable of leading a centralized movement. Countered economists by stressing the need for a centralized, professionalized party capable of orchestrating a national struggle against Tsarist oppression. Characteristics of the ideal revolutionary leader. Lenin contrasted the economist vision of a narrow practitioner with his ideal of a bold, theoretically rigorous, and politically visionary leader. Criticized economists for failing to envision leaders capable of strategic thinking and organizing mass action against Tsarism. Role of an all-Russian political newspaper. Iskra proposed an all-Russian illegal political newspaper to unify and mobilize revolutionary groups across Russia. viewed the newspaper as a collective organizer, propagandist, and agitator that would lay the ideological and organizational foundation for the Marxist Party. Compared it to scaffolding, marking the party's structure and facilitating coordination among revolutionaries. Necessity of a stable, professionalized leadership. Argued for a stable organization of professionally trained leaders to ensure continuity and resist czarist persecution. Asserted that a selective membership would strengthen the party's resilience while broadening mass participation. Legacy and outcome of Lenin's organizational blueprint. The Bolshevik Party, with a core of seasoned professional revolutionaries, mobilized millions, leading to the overthrow of Tsarism and the eventual establishment of socialism in the USSR. Lenin's vision anticipated a strong, unified proletarian party capable of guiding the working class in a historic struggle against capitalist structures. Publication of Iskra, December 1900. First issue of illegal all-Russian Marxist newspaper Iskra was published under Lenin's leadership. Marked a critical step in Lenin's vision to form a new type of revolutionary party. Significance of Iskra. Defended the working class's fundamental interests, unity, and revolutionary goals. Fought against opportunism and revisionism in Russia and the West. Led the struggle against economism in favor of revolutionary social democracy. Garnered support from the conscious proletariat, as noted by Lenin. Establishment of RSDLP committees. Leninist Iskra direction led to the formation of RSDLP committees in major Russian cities, e.g., St. Petersburg, Moscow. These committees were led by notable revolutionaries including M. I. Kalinin, N. E. Bauman, I. V. Babushkin, and S. I. Yusuf. Expansion to Transcaucasia. Comrade Stalin, a close associate of Lenin, led the Iskra organizations in Transcaucasia. In September 1901, Stalin initiated the first illegal political newspaper in Transcaucasia, Berdzola Struggle, which echoed Iskra's Marxist ideas. Role of Iskra and Berdzola. Both papers were instrumental in advancing Lenin's plan for a working-class Marxist party in autocratic Russia. Played a central role in preparing the Second Congress of the RSDLP and drafting the party program. Disagreements within Iskra's editorial board. Disputes arose between Lenin, Plekhanov, and other board members regarding proletarian dictatorship, the working class's revolutionary role, and land nationalization. Lenin ensured the inclusion of critical points on proletarian dictatorship and the working class's revolutionary role in the draft party program, highlighting key differences between Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. Preparation for the Second Congress. Iskra laid ideological and organizational groundwork for the RSDLP's Second Congress, elaborated in Lenin's book, What is to be Done? The role of professional revolutionaries. Lenin's vision focused on creating an organization of professional revolutionaries, which solidified by 1903 despite internal splits. This corps, led by Lenin and Stalin, preserved the organization through turbulent periods, contributing significantly to the Russian Revolution's success. Evolution of the Bolshevik Party. Under Lenin and Stalin's leadership, the Bolshevik Party evolved from small Marxist groups into a major revolutionary force. It eventually led the world's first socialist state and became a central influence in the international communist movement. The historical significance of V.I. Lenin's work, What is to be Done? Lenin's contribution in What is to be Done? Lenin exposed the ideological roots of opportunism, especially the tendency to glorify the spontaneity of workers' movements while downplaying socialist consciousness. He emphasized the critical role of theory, consciousness, and the party as the guiding forces for revolutionary change. Lenin defined the Marxist Party as a union of workers' movement and socialism, laying the foundation of the Bolshevik Party's ideology. Stalin's development of Lenin's ideas. Stalin further developed Lenin's ideas and Marxist-Leninist theory, leading the Soviet people in socialist construction. Under Stalin's leadership, the USSR transformed into a powerful socialist state. Stalin's fight against internal opposition, such as the Trotskyists and Bukharinists, helped consolidate socialism by eliminating perceived threats to the party's unity. Role of the Bolshevik Party. The Bolshevik Party, through ideological purity and Stalin's leadership, guided the Soviet Union's transformation and defended socialism. This ideological alignment enabled the USSR to withstand challenges, particularly during the Great Patriotic War. Post-war goals. Stalin outlined post-war objectives for further economic and social development aimed at building communism. The Soviet Union's successful post-war 5-year plan under Stalin's guidance marked a significant step towards socialism in one country. Stalin's contributions to Marxist theory. Stalin continued to refine and expand Marxist theory, especially in linguistics, advocating for a dynamic, evolving Marxism. He opposed rigid interpretations of Marxism, promoting a creative and practical application of the ideology. Global influence of Marxism-Leninism. The principles of Marxism-Leninism inspired socialist and communist movements worldwide, including in China, Korea, and anti-imperialist movements. Stalin's contributions amplified Marxism-Leninism's role on the global stage, rallying the working masses against imperialism. Struggle against bourgeois ideology. Both Lenin and Stalin emphasized the need to preserve socialist ideology against bourgeois influence. The publication of their works was seen as crucial for the ideological strength of the Soviet Union and international workers' movements. Era of socialism's ascendancy. The growth of socialist and democratic movements worldwide signified the eventual decline of capitalism, with the name of Stalin as a symbol of communism's inevitable victory.